For Power Rangers Ninja Storm's second Megazord, Evil Rangers were back with an evil Megazord, as was the name of our second Megazord overall, the Thunder Megazord. But if you'd have thought we were going to get another friendly looking Megazord with a dolphin for an arm, you'd be sadly mistaken. I love when the show pulls a design 180, and Thunder Megazord, while looking every bit as over the top as Storm Megazord, has a much darker and more intimidating feel to it. Having just had the first main Megazord comprised of 3 Ranger Zords, now we have our first comprised of just 2 Ranger Zords. And even though these two create one heck of a combo, you can get back to the 5 Zord Megazord by combining Thunder with the first Megazord introduced this year. Ho ho, it's a good one. The toy history then. I think because of the 1994 toy release, this one was named by Bandai as Thunder Power Megazord on the box to draw some distinction and stop some confusion maybe, but as another Mighty Morphin callback, I did love that our second Mighty Morphin Megazord shared a name with the second Ninja Storm Megazord introduced here. And the TV show always went by Thunder Megazord. Based on the 2002 Hurricaneja toy DX Gurasian, Thunder Megazord was sold just as any other Deluxe Megazord, despite having fewer Zord components. Once again, it makes up for it with giant-sized vehicles, plus a few more power spheres in the box, which we'll get to shortly. Something I haven't mentioned yet is that Ninja Storm toys were very widely available, even sold in Disney stores, as Power Rangers were fully into their Disney era for this season. Some people will say mid-Wild Force is when they took over production, but Ninja Storm was when they went fully down their own path creatively, as highlighted by the disparate tones between the 2 seasons, one of which I hate, one of which I love. Unlike Japan, they did not offer combined form sets for Ninja Storm, so you did have to purchase them separately. Onto the design. The Power of Thunder gives us one cool customer, bringing symmetry back after a 2 very differently armed Megazord. Thunder Megazord is so great. This is our first duo of insect-inspired Zords, something revisited by Beast Morphers. We've dabbled with the idea of 2 Zord Megazords a few times on the way to this, never as 2 Rangers equal Zords though. In space, Astro Megazord Shuttle was technically its own vehicle, but never described as 2 Zords, and similarly the Magna Defender Zord was a warrior that got dressed in bull armor, but none of them were quite like this, 2 giant vehicles, each belonging to a different Power Ranger. Crimson Insectazord is a Crimson Zord patterned after a Japanese rhinoceros beetle and the model of a tank. Navy Beetle Zord is a Navy Blue Zord patterned after a stag beetle and model of an armoured monster truck. Thanks Ranger Wiki for those 2. The combined Thunder Megazord is, in a word, spiky, where Storm Megazord felt round, colourful and inviting. Thunder Megazord with its dark colour scheme felt mysterious and threatening. Following on from last time, maximalism is still a clear and present theme. Lots of spikes along the legs, aesthetic antlers and antenna. Simultaneously sharp and curvy, it's once again bucking the trend of robots we'd had for so much of Power Rangers' run to date. Shinobi Warrior influence was present in the Storm Megazord design. Here it's even more obvious because of the darker colour scheme. And like Storm Megazord, it creates some of its weapons out of what's already on the robot. The Navy Beetle Zord pincers can go from decorative to a claw weapon. Crimson Insectazord cannons can technically be lowered for firing, but we'll save that for the next video and a combination later on. Unlike the Storm Megazord, there's no waist twisting, but that is mostly there to facilitate combination modes anyway. This one can literally split into 2 equal halves, leaving just the head without a home. At first I thought this one didn't even have a power sphere, materialize and deployment compartment like Storm Megazord got, but this one will surprise you, as its entire chest plate falls forward to reveal this recess. Let's talk differences from the original then, and similar to the Storm Megazord, Thunder Megazord has been plasticified in place of the Hurricaneja's version's die-cast. I love the look of theirs with metal on the tank tread housing, plus the suspension of the monster truck wheels, and in Megazord mode, the thighs, and I think helmet horns, though these could just be chrome, which was also removed from some of the gold detailing on both Zords. It isn't necessary, but after having kept it for the Omega Megazord, Time Force and Time Shadow, and a whole year like Wild Force, which used it even more prominently, it was a shame to see diecast having dwindled away from our Power Rangers versions yet again. Rubber was another material that was partially rendered into plastic for the tyres on Navy Beetlezord. The tank treads on Crimson Insectizord, luckily, are here in rubber. We get one advantage, I suppose, in that we get Power Spheres 7 and 8 in the box. Those that contain the pieces for the combination are included with Thunder Megazord. In Japan they were mostly available separately. Paint was also much lesser on this version. You can notice where I've added lots of gold to mine to really bring out the details that were included by default with the Bandai Japan version. Normally I say at least the detail is there for you to fill in, but I really felt this one was much more freehand than usual, which isn't as enjoyable and does feel a bit more risky. But you know, you don't have to do this, I just think it looks much better if you do. The Thunder Megazord Spin Blade Zord didn't even escape the paint rationing, as there should be a solid red design on each of its translucent blades. A shame as well that this wasn't included. What's bad about it then? Well, unfortunately it's very brittle. Very early on I somehow broke off one of the clips that holds the Megazord's head on. I did manage to salvage the clip, super glue it back on, and so far so good, it's stayed put. But I know it won't last, which is a shame, because without it, the head is super wobbly. One clip just doesn't do it. The Megazord is quite front heavy and with shallow feet. The Megazord feels like it can fall forwards or backwards. I just don't think the feet do enough to keep it there. Bit of a shame. The navy antlers that form the chest crest makes for a limited range of shots from which to capture the head from. It's good that they gave it a secondary purpose in the show as a weapon, and a third one when combined with the Power Sphere Zord. Strangely, we don't have the outline for the cockpits on either Crimson or Navy, weird after we got them on the Ninja Storm Zords, though I guess with those they could do it in one colour. The differences to the original really stand out on this release more than for the rest of the line. The lack of rubber, metal and paint really reduces how sharp this thing should look, and while some of it you can cheat and earn it back like I have, you are left wanting more. Fortunately, this is still a 2000s Power Rangers toy, so at least we're in an era where we've evolved beyond stickers, and the many patterns and paint decals that are there help to make you realise how intricate Zord design used to be. Speaking of highlights then, what's good about it? Well, this is an amazing Megazord that looked and felt incredible even then and still does now. Unique weapons, unique Zords, a unique transformation all makes Thunder Megazord one of the greats. There's a really fun range of motion with the arms of this thing, as well as the usual up-down action because of how it transforms. You can rotate the hands 360 degrees. They've kept opening hands here too, and the shoulder joint, possibly suspension for the tank treads, offers some unusual motion, ratcheting the arms up or down. I nearly downrated the spin blade, but you know what, it's kinda cool. Based on a flower themed axe and pinwheel combination, it is a unique weapon, had an opening mouth, and even combines with the pincer claws to create another weapon for Thunder Megazord. As we said last time, this was a great year for strange handheld weapons and beyond the obvious finishing attacks. But it doesn't stop there, because what happens when you take Thunder and Storm? Oh yeah, the 5 main Rangers of the season found a way to bring their powers together and create the mother of all combinations to date. For the first time in Power Rangers, 2 combining multiple Zord Megazords could combine completely, give or take a dolphin head. Each summoning a power sphere which contains parts of Mini-Zord, a sentient third Shinobi warrior, which contains some crucial pieces for making the connection happen. You know, I don't normally like separating hands, but I do forgive it in this context because they look and feel so different to the regular hands on the Megazords. They're much larger and they do have a place to be when they're not in use, albeit inside one of the many power spheres. The new helmet, well, that's tried and tested Power Rangers lore going all the way back to Mega Dragonzord or Mega Tigerzord, with the crescent moon design is so cool. It also reveals a nose and a mouth which we didn't get in the original Storm Megazord version. So it might as well just be a completely different head up there. Hawkzord is relegated most of all from the combination, and I'm thankful again for those red buttons on the Lionzord legs, for at least still giving red a bit of presence here. Raise some hidden clips inside Crimson Insectazord so it can become Zord shoes, as well as a cannon. Navy becomes arms with his pincers back as spikes on top. How's that for shoulder pads? The articulation in the Lionzord finally finds its place, as do the secondary Zord connector ports. The Lion's front legs must now become the kibble in the back, but don't worry, as once we add everything else to the Megazord, there'll just be some forgotten parts on this monster. Finally, we have ThunderStorm Megazord, and you understand why it was so important that they reuse Thunder as this Megazord's name, and why Storm was a way better choice than Wind Megazord. ThunderStorm Megazord being this alignment of the two ninja schools in this tempestual, stacked with artillery beast. Animations were so cool for this, as their neon emblems collided and the storm kicked up debris from the ground along with the killer soundtrack. I hope the people who made those visuals and audio know that they are geniuses that I still appreciate to this day. I know that some of them are going to be from in Japan, some of them are going to be from America. That's the beauty of Power Rangers though, when killer visuals combine with killer post-production and new audio. I would say this thing is pretty much as good as double Megazord combinations gets. Sure, the Lionzord creaks under the weight of all this stuff, and yes, the top arsenal weapons ride that fine line between looking like a cluster or work of art, but things like perfectly lining up the spinning lion mane to the dolphin cannon earn it all back. What was an oversized arm on the Storm Megazord becomes a perfectly proportioned chest centerpiece here. This is the pinnacle of Megazord combinations, something that looks like it could have been the main Megazord all along, but also kind of like a new modern day Ultrazord. ThunderStorm Megazord is exactly as the name suggests. Ultimately, Thunder Megazord is a great one, and for collectors a fantastic standalone that doesn't have as much obviously therefore a combination stuff lying around the Megazord mode as the Lionzord did for the Storm Megazord, but having said that, it also facilitates one of the greatest functional combinations I think in Power Rangers history. I'm so happy that this thing exists, and we're only on the second part of Ninja Storm. You might think we'd maxed out on combinations here with this, but nope, not even close. So subscribe if you haven't already, and check out part 3, where we'll talk about our first ever samurai of the franchise and a certain helicopter Zord, which takes the idea of combinations even further. I've been Ryan, you've been watching and hopefully liking this video to help me and the channel out, and I'll see you again for the next Power Ranger 2 video when we talk Samurai Star. Until then, ominous disappearance in cloud of smoke.